Hello, my friend. On today's episode, I'm speaking with Pete. And in this conversation, we talk about one of the most commonly overlooked strategies for improving client retention. So if you want your clients to stay longer and get better results long term with you, this is a great episode for you. I'm not going to say any more. I need you to listen to this one. It's a good episode. Let's dive in. Hello, fitness business nerds. What's up? Welcome to another episode of the Business Unicorns podcast. Before we jump into today's episode, I just want to give a quick shout out to our Business Unicorns Instagram account. We're crushing it over there on Instagram. We put out some great content on a regular basis, both snippets from this podcast, snippets from our YouTube channel, great tips and advice that come from the emails we're putting out on a regular basis. So if you're not following us over there, if your whole team at your gym is not following us over there, go follow us on Instagram right now. Just at Business for Unicorns, and you won't regret it. It's full of actionable advice and takeaways. I'm patting myself on my back as I'm talking about this because I think we're doing a great job, and you should go follow us because they're great shit there. That being said, Pete's with me today. What's up, my friend?
Hello. I'm back.
You're back. I think actually there's going to be a few episodes back to back where it's just the Michael and Pete show. So I hope they like this combo because we like it.
Yeah, I think we have good conversations. I leave feeling fulfilled.
Me too. I always feel like I learned something. So whether you fuckers listening like it or not, we're going to keep doing this.
Here we are.
Let's talk about this, which today's topic is really a conversation about retention. And I think that it's fair to frame this as this is kind of a secret weapon of retention that applies to both sports performance gyms and Gen Pop gyms that I think is often overlooked. And I'm going to summarize this by saying, you can say how we got here, Pete, but the secret weapon of retention that a lot of folks are missing is really the power of storytelling. It's the power of future thinking and narratives. So I'm going to start by being vague because we're going to get to the specifics. But talk through, Pete, a little bit about how you think about retaining your athletes season upon season, year after year.
This is a great question because I do deal with so much seasonality.
Yep.
And if you don't do this future narrative controlling, or you don't think this way,
yeah,
you have a series of moments throughout the year where you find yourself saying, my gosh, I hope they come back. Mm-hmm. Are they going to come back? I have no idea if they're coming back. And with that comes a cycle of moments where you feel like you need to win your business over and over and over again. And that is exhausting. Giving the sales pitch to the same person 2 to 3 times a year is too much for me. I don't know about you.
And so much uncertainty and anxiety that comes with that uncertainty of like, how many people are we going to lose in May? Are there any of them going to come back in September or, whatever the dates are? And especially even for Gen Pop folks who have folks whose memberships don't automatically renew, or maybe you're still selling packs, to have those folks kind of up in the air, not knowing whether or not they're going to be sticking with you, is fucking nerve wracking.
I've done a lot of coaching over the years with gym owners in your market, the Manhattan market. And there was always this annual kind of stress, panic moment where it seems that half of the city just leaves for the Hamptons. It's just like, oh, we don't spend on fitness anymore. They do. They just do it on the Hamptons. And I watched all these gym owners have these micro panic attacks. How am I going to survive the summer? Mm-hmm. And what was stressful to them was just my reality all the time. Now, not the summer, but third week of March until midway through May, that is just my life. All of our baseball players metaphorically go to the Hamptons. And by that, I mean, they're just on field every single day and can't spend with me. So I've been fine tuning this approach for almost 2 decades now.
Yeah. So let's just kind of walk through. It's a really proactive approach, which is, I think, the magic here that I think people are missing. So to be able to do even what we're going to talk about today, you have to get ahead of yourself. You have to start thinking more long-term about your clients, about their goals, about where they're heading next, and start making offers way ahead of any decisions they're going to make. So kind of walk through how you do this, Pete.
Bingo. All right. So let's do this with real-time example. As we record this, we're about 48 hours into our summer program here at CSP. We're going to see, I don't know, somewhere between 50 and 70 college athletes a day for the next several months. And if this goes well, we are going to have a number of very happy users over the course of the next 10 to 14 weeks. And then they're going to go back to school. And to me, the best time to talk about future work with us that includes a hiatus in the not that distant future is when they're winning, when they are in love with the process and the experience. And so, believe it or not, these athletes who are 2 days in are people that I should be looking at and asking myself, how can I get them to potentially invest in us this fall while they're back on campus? How can I scale the likelihood that they come back for a rescreening during Thanksgiving break? How do I get them to commit to being here 4 to 6 days a week during their Christmas break? And I know that sounds ridiculous as we're just trying to service the needs of a group in the here and now. But the reality is what I do today is going to drive our success in December, which is going to populate my next summer program. And I'm making moves, if I think this way, that are going to dramatically impact 1 year from today. And it's so important that I do it because this is the week where we collect in excess of 15 to as much as 20% of our revenue each year. So what drives the summer program? What I did during the last one.
That's huge. I really think of this as you're talking, Pete. What comes to mind to me, I know I use this analogy a lot when talking about culture and gyms, but this really is a gardener's mentality. Right. This really is prepare my soil, prepare my seeds for harvest that I'm going to make in 3, 6, 10 months from now. Right. And I think that's really important because what I think you and I both see, a lot of gym owners do, both Gen Pop and sports performance, is that when there is a moment where folks could walk away or not continue, that they start the conversation then. At best, a week before then, in some cases, or after then. They call them after their last visit to see if they want to stick around, right? And what we're saying is to do the exact opposite. It's like from the moment they start, be having a conversation and planting seeds for what they're going to do next. And whether that's seasonality, like Pete is mentioning, or for general population folks, just what their goals are, right? So if someone starts at Mark Fisher Fitness today and they're on a 3-month membership, I would hope we're starting in the first few weeks of their 3-month membership to talk about what the second 3 months is going to look like. As they start to have wins and start to make friends and start to see some success in their fitness journey, I want to leverage, as Pete said, as you said, the wins, the high that they're riding, and say, okay, if you can have these wins in the first few weeks, let's just imagine what would you accomplish if you were here for 6 months or 12 months? And starting to have that conversation early on seems kind of counterintuitive because you're trying to just service the needs of today. But I think it really is the right mentality for long-term retention. So let's just talk a little bit about what does it look like for you, Pete? Like, are you sending emails? Are these face-to-face conversations? Like, how are you actually kind of planting these seeds for folks to get them to come for Thanksgiving or Christmas?
Sure. Well, good question. And before it leaves me, I want to share a quote that grabbed me 10 or 15 years ago that got me thinking this way. And it was kind of that farmer's mentality. I don't know who said, but it said, there will come a time when winter asks you what you've been doing all summer. And I remember when I first read that, I thought to myself, oh, I need to flip that because we have athletes who work hard all winter so they can be great in the summer. So I probably put a picture of some baseball players in the weight room and said, there will come a time when summer asks you what you were doing all winter, which is conceptually the same thing. And it speaks to that population. But now in hindsight, I realize the original iteration was the right one as it relates to CSP. Because filling my gym this winter is a function of what I do during the summer. And so to your question, this means that sometime between July 15th and August 1st, when we are at like peak operational skill in delivering a good training experience for our college athlete, it means sending an email that might have a subject line, keeping CSP in your life this fall. And then I'll say, hey, it's been a pleasure having you around the gym. I'm so psyched to have seen you've done this, 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 and this. You've made tremendous gains here in the weight room. I'd imagine there's a great strength and conditioning program at your school or university. But if not, we'd love to contribute to your development over the fall because you don't need to hit the brakes on all the hard work you've done when you get back on campus. Here are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, don't give more than 5 options to anyone ever. But let's say here are 3 ways you can work with CSP this fall, be it in an in-person or remote format. And as I was saying to you before we had this conversation in a recorded format, I always like to finish messages of this point, not with a call to action or a request to buy, but instead a heads up on when I'm going to be reaching out next. And so that is maybe I'm going to shoot you an email around the middle of August to reiterate this options, and we can talk about what might make sense for you. Yep. Stay tuned.
Great.
And if I do that at the end of every single email, I keep my clients warm year round.
Yeah.
And assuming I show up when I say I'm going to show up in an inbox.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic, Pete. I think, I'll try and give like the Gen Pop equivalence here, which is, at the very least, gym owners should consider with general population having some sort of quarterly check-in with your members, some sort of quarterly check-in, and then you can start to, like Pete's doing, kind of tease that check-in throughout their experience. Like when they have a great win, email them. They're having a great win. I love that. Just remember, I'm going to check in with you in about 2 months to see what your next goal is going to be for the next 3 months. I can't wait to talk to you then, right? But celebrating their wins and acknowledging all the great work they're doing. And at the same breath saying, I can't wait to keep this going with you. I can't wait to check in a few months to establish what your next chapter is going to look like. And like that is the kind of beating heart of retention that is authentic, great for them and great for the business, right? Because it helps them stay on track and set more long-term goals. And frankly, just good customer service, right? It's just good customer service to be making sure that you are fully supporting people in the thing that they obviously want next, which is to keep up the great results they've been getting with you. When they're riding that high, most people are, I'll say most people I know, like at Mark Fisher Fitness, general population folks, their biggest fear is that it won't last. Their biggest fear is that this is going to be part of some sort of yo-yo exercise or yo-yo diet experience. So if when they are riding that high and getting great experience, you can leverage that by saying, let's keep this going. Let's make a plan for your next 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. That is so powerful. It's great service. It's great at getting them results, and it helps improve your retention, right? There's really no downside other than I know this shit takes time. Like we know that this is something that takes a little bit of time from either you as the owner or someone on your team, or maybe your coaches are contributing. And so there is some kind of choreography to all of this. There is some orchestrating to this effort, but geez, is it worth it? Right? I mean, like I can't think of a better use of your time to retain clients long-term.
Yeah, and we have this habit of failing to realize that there's a lot of uncertainty in the future of our users. And so for you, that might be somebody who for their entire lifetime have either been intimidated by the gym or just couldn't find the right one for themselves. And then they find MFF and they do the first 90 days and they're like, is this it? Does the program change? Am I always going to be this sore? Mm-hmm. At what point should I really focus on the nutrition? Whatever it may be. For me, that might be the rising college freshman who won't admit it, but they have absolutely no idea what their schedule is going to look like when they get on campus in the fall. Yeah. They know they're going to play fall ball, but they don't know if that means coach is going to drag their ass out of bed at 5 and make them lift and then go to the field. Are they going to make them all go for some sort of a team run? Or are they going to get thrown in the pool? They just don't know. Yeah. And we have this appreciation for what that probably looks like based on thousands of athletes who have come through the door and explained what it was for them. Yeah. And instead of assuming that someone at a school has communicated that to my guys, we need to take control of that narrative. And if we know that someone's going to an under, I would say a program that isn't particularly well resourced, like they don't have a strength and conditioning coach assigned, and they're probably going to get the football program that was written in 1994, and they're just going to say, go do this, you're a baseball player. If we know that's probably coming down the pike, we can say, hey, you might find that you're a little aimless in the weight room or you don't have guidance. We'd love to tell you about what this probably looks like this fall. You're probably going to have this number of practices each week. You're probably going to have games on the weekends. You're probably going to get about this many innings, which means you can probably get into the weight room and do this many training sessions per week. Mm-hmm. And we know that you're going to have a fall break that's going to be anywhere from 4 days to maybe even a week long. And we'd love to see you. So why don't you plan on coming back during your fall break? And it's on us. We just want to check in and see how you're doing and talk. And when you come in on that fall break, I'm going to sell you on a bundled Thanksgiving and Christmas package It's coming. Be ready. But if we can paint this picture of what the next couple of months look like, we might be the only people bringing them clarity and making them feel at peace with what's coming at them, because they're just so vague on what expectations should be.
Yeah, I think that's really well said, Pete. And I think that the big takeaway here is really helping people embrace and really own like the narrative of their health or wellness journey, right? And really with you be kind of co-creators of that next chapter, right? But we're often the ones that have to initiate that conversation. And I can point to the same seasonality for, folks at Mark Fisher Fitness, right? Which is, I know that almost every one of our ninjas at MFF are going to want to take a little time off in the summer. They're going to go to the beach, or many of their actors are going to be away for a few weeks. So we can start in February, March, April, normalizing the fact that that's what they're going to want, and help get in front of it and help encourage them to freeze their membership instead of terminating, or downgrade their membership instead of terminating, right? Same thing with the holidays. We know people like to, they leave New York over the holidays and go visit their family all over the country. And we can normalize the fact that there's going to be a lot of nutrition temptations of eating lots of giant meals and sugar. So I think that, regardless, with both of our audiences, there's a real benefit to us helping get in front and help them kind of write the narrative of the next chapter of their experience. Because when we do, they see that chapter being written with us, right? Whereas we continue to be part of the story. And I think when we disconnect from our clients who are not part of that process, they're going to write some chapter without us. And it may not include us, right? And I think that, why not be involved if we can? It's so great on so many levels. So final thought here, Pete, for folks who are listening to this and like, yeah, I do want to get ahead of it. I think the big barrier for many of them is likely like, I don't even know what I'm doing 3, 4, 5 months from now. How do I start being so proactive in the business if I haven't done that before? What do you say?
Can I answer this for the performance training gym owner, and you can do it for Pop?
Let's do it.
All right. So for the performance training gym owner, instead of trying to do this for your whole entire community, pick a subset of your community. So let's say it's the high school athlete. I would map out an email that says, hey, fall tryouts are just around the corner. You must be starting to think about how you're going to get ready for late August.
Yep.
Because all of these clients have such an all or nothing mentality. They think once there's a conflict that competes with the time they've been giving to the gym, it's time to turn off the gym. Yep. So because of this, we'd say fall sports are just around the corner and you're going to need to scale back on your strength training. Here's how our most successful athletes in the past have navigated in-season training. And then I explain to them how we discount an in-season transaction. Come on in, as often as you can pull off for what is essentially a little less than what once a week would be with us during that time frame, knowing that they're going to get in once to twice a week in a great week, and painting the picture that it's not an option to just quit it wholesale. If you want to win like the winners have won in the past, you got to keep coming. Here's what that looks like. So just talk about it, as I said to you earlier, as if it's a foregone conclusion that they're sticking with it, and explain what sticking with it looks like.
Yeah, I think that's really smart. And I think what that starts to do, Pete, even if you start with just one part of your audience or one kind of specific avatar, it starts to create a culture of this idea that, how we do things around here at Cressy is that we think about training as being a year-round activity. Mm-hmm. We have this culture of, I think, our fellow Business Unicorns coach here, Mickey Bruckner, often says that it's about creating this culture of like long-term athlete development. That we're not in it just for the season or the preseason, we're in it long term. This is like a year-round experience, and the more we can set that expectation, the more we'll be able to retain athletes year-round. And the same thing for Gen Pop. I would say my suggestion is, I don't know if you necessarily for Gen Pop need to think of a smaller audience. You can do this for everyone, but I would start to plant the seed now for a goal-setting check-in you're going to do in 3 months. Send an email now. Hey, I'm going to check in with you in 3 months to see how you're doing in meeting your goals, and establish goals for now for the rest of the year. right? To let them know you're thinking long term about their progress. You want them to as well. You're going to reach out and touch base and tell them how you're going to touch base. You're going to text them, you're going to email them, you're going to find them face to face and check in on their goals, but let them know that you're thinking about their goal achievement. You want to make sure that they have clear goals that they're achieving, and you're thinking about that long term. You're thinking about the next chapter of what they can accomplish when they stick with you. And you want to assume, like Pete said, that they're sticking with you, and use language like, hey, I want to figure out what goals are we going to reach together by the end of this year. Then by the time the end of the year comes, you're doing it again for the next year. Right? But I think just setting the expectation that this is a conversation you and your team are going to have, and it's about their long-term development, not tomorrow or next week or even next month, but many months from now. You want them to be thinking about what can they achieve with you if they stay. And I think that's a great tip, no matter what kind of gym you run.
Yeah, use as much aspirational language as you can.
Yeah.
If you want to talk about the fall, say, hey, I've been putting some thought into how I'm going to shift your programming this fall, and I've got some pretty exciting ideas.
Yeah.
You think they're not going to bite on that? The FOMO is so real that they're just like, you know what? I guess I'm here till December then, because he's been thinking about it.
Yeah, 100%. And the thing I love so much about this retention strategy is that it is absolutely aligned with everything we know about getting people the best results. We know the best results are not often quick wins, right? These are things that take long time, season after season, year after year, of people really investing in themselves to accomplish. And I think that, creating a culture that embraces that is great for all of us. Yeah. Well, let's leave it there, Pete. This is a great topic. And I'm so glad we got to represent it from sports performance and Gen Pop side, because I think this idea of controlling the narrative and embracing kind of long-term client development, I think is really critical to retention. So thanks for the great talk.
I can't believe it took us this long to get back to it.
Awesome. Well, dear listeners, if you're not yet following us on Instagram, if your whole team and your friends and your family and your grandma are not following us on Instagram, go follow us on Instagram right now. And I'll see you on the next one, Pete. Have a great day.
Good chat. See ya.